Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the show wearefree.tv, the channel of the people, by the people, for the people. A place where people are welcome to contact us and come and talk to us about all the unusual subjects, from quantum mechanics to spiritual subjects, channeling, alternative food, alternative medicine, alternative anything, alternative energy, conspiracy theories, secret knowledge, esoteric knowledge, religion, anything. All we ask is that no one talks badly about anyone else and that there is no instigation of violence of any kind. Other than that, anything goes. So also I'd like to thank the people who have kindly donated to us. Thank you. And if you wish to donate, the information is up here, bank transfer, PayPal, etc. We depend on your donations to remain an independent channel on our own servers, with our own traffic and our own infrastructure. And in today's world, as you may know, some places have specific policies where you're not allowed to say whatever you like, and therefore you get censored. And therefore, if we do get censored, we don't care because we have our own channel, thanks to the donations of our kind viewers. So that is important to say. Also, we have a website called wearefree.tv. You may go there, and then if you end up on the Israeli Hebrew side, just click on English at the top left corner, then click on Join Us, enter your email, and you'll be on our mailing list. We also have a Telegram group called No Censorship TV. Highly recommended that you join this group. And of course, please share this interview wherever you possibly can, on any social platform you possibly have an account on would be lovely, like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. You can send it by email, you can send it on WhatsApp, on Telegram, etc. Don't stop yourself. Thank you very much for that. And today, my guest is Dr. Sam Osmanagich, PhD. He is an anthropologist, megalithic and pyramid sites researcher, author, and public speaker. The name of the interview is an interview with the Bosnian pyramid discoverer, a talk with Dr. Sam Osmanagich on pyramids, energy and healing aspect, big tech, big pharma, and more. So, hello there, Dr. Sam Osmanagich. How are you today?
Hi, I'm doing real fine. Thanks for having me in your show.
Have you seen Indiana Jones?
Well, Indiana Jones is a fictionary person in the movies. What we have is reality.
Amazing. Okay. So, wow, anthropologist, megalithic, and let's go one by one. What's an anthropologist for people who don't know?
Anthropology is the science about the man and his achievements all around the planet. And my focus are the pyramids and the megalithic sites around the planet. And one of my books, the subtitle is Almost Everything They Teach Us About the Ancient History is Wrong. The Origin of Man, Civilizations, and Pyramids.
Yep.
And this is what I do.
I'm not surprised at all that it's not true what they tell us, like many other aspects of life that we're not exactly well informed or accurately, to say the least. So megalithic and pyramid sites is, megalithic, what's that, like the Passover
megalithic
islands?
Like, for example, like Stonehenge in United Kingdom. And then you have Avery Hill, you have Karnak in Western France, thousands of megaliths. And then Rujum El Hiri on Golan Height, also amazing megalithic sites with the 5 stone circles. So try to decipher the secret. Why would the ancients shaped, transport, and installed thousands of tons of blocks in certain geometrical pattern?
Yeah.
Circles, eights, and similar.
What about Easter Islands?
Easter Island is something different. Easter Island is about 4,000 kilometers from South America, 10,000 kilometers from Tahiti. So it's really in the middle of the nowhere, in the middle of the Pacific island. So the origin of this island, you had 3 volcanoes that formed triangle, and now we got the soil, we got the land there. So it seems that there was an episode in distant past. Looks like somebody landed on the island, shaped to volcanic stones, made hundreds of stone heads and stone bodies. And then also we have stone spheres over there. We have megalithic walls, very similar to those in Peru, Mexico, Egypt, and many other countries. And then we have some type of writings, rongo writings. So we have 4 elements, and nothing like that, thousands of kilometers around. Looks like somebody came and then mysteriously left.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, what about, let's talk about these sites. I mean, if I could just throw a few at you, let's say the pyramids in Egypt. What can you tell us about them?
The story of the pyramids is following. They program us in schools and educational system and in media that pyramids exist in Egypt and Mexico, and that they are built as tombs for the pharaohs. The first thing is wrong, the second thing is wrong. Pyramids are built all over the planet, on all 6 continents. In China, in central province of Shanxi, there are 250 pyramids, 20 big ones from 12,500 years back, and 230 smaller ones from 2,300 years back to 1,000 before present. Beautiful Koh-Ker pyramid in Cambodia, 24,000-year-old pyramid Gunung Padang in Western Java, Indonesia, Gympie Pyramid in eastern coast of Australia, 224 Nubian pyramids in Sudan, 155 Egyptian pyramids, not 118 like non-scientific site of Wikipedia claims. There are 104 pyramids on Canary Islands, there are 40 pyramids in Sicily, there are 300 Peruvian pyramids, there are pyramids in Bolivia, Acapena complex. My PhD was about the Mayan pyramids, more than 100,000 of them in the countries of Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Belize, 120 American pyramids called Cahokia Mounds in the state of Illinois, and pyramids in Europe. 3 pyramids in Spain called Palencia pyramids, 5 pyramid complexes in Italy, 16 pyramids on Greek islands, Bosnian pyramids, the biggest and the oldest on the planet, and there is 1 pyramid in Israel, halfway from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. It is on 7-step pyramid, and I counted about 2,000 tons of stone blocks with the underground tunnels. So like I said, the first thing is wrong, that pyramids are built only in Egypt and Mexico. They are built everywhere. And the second one, about pyramids being tombs, is also wrong. Out of 155 pyramids in Egypt, not a single mummy was retrieved. The only mummy, original, was King Tut's, and that one was located in the Valley of Kings, 300 kilometers to the south from the Giza Plateau. So we've been programmed to think about the pyramids as tombs, wrong. Plus, they are built much, much before than what they are teaching us. Mm-hmm. The biggest Egyptian pyramids between 30 and 40,000 years back. Then we have some megalithic sites like Yonaguni, underwater monuments off the coast of Japan, over 12,000 years. Göbekli Tepe, megalithic site in eastern Turkey, over 14,000 years. The oldest Mexican pyramids, over 12,000 years. Machu Picchu in eastern Peru, over 55,000. The first monuments, and so on. So we can see that the world of the past was much more exciting than what they try to present us.
Okay, so what's the purpose of these pyramids then?
16 years back, I discovered pyramids in central Bosnia. I named them the Bosnian pyramids. 6 of them: pyramids of the sun, moon, dragon, earth, love, and the 6th pyramid. In the last 16 years, it's been interdisciplinary scientific project. Besides the classical sciences like archaeology, Egyptology, geology, paleontology, and so on, high-tech sciences like geophysical analysis, geothermal analysis, satellite analysis, georadar, and so on. We also applied the measurements of the energy properties. We had teams from Serbia, Croatia, Italy, Finland, and Germany, people who are physicists, electrical engineers, sound engineers, telecommunication engineers, and who have proven that pyramids are actually energy amplifiers. They amplify the existing natural energy sources. In very concrete terms, under the biggest pyramid in Bosnia, the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, there is an iron plate. Iron generates electromagnetic field. The pyramid, four-sided pyramid, amplifies this energy. How do we know? Because we have measured at the base, at the top. At the top, the energy strength is 50 times stronger. This energy is actually electrical in nature. It's 28 kilohertz frequency. It is like ellipsoid. It starts with 4.5 meter radius, going to 20 meters radius, then again 4.5, 20, 4.5. In science, these are called Tesla's scalar waves. Now, scalar waves, they move quicker than the speed of light. They have not taught us that in school. They are telling us that the biggest speed in the universe, speed of light, wrong. Scalar waves, much quicker, ideal media to transport the energy and information. So to answer your question, the first potential purpose of the pyramid energy is to be the communication device. The second one, the healing aspect. The pyramid energy protects our health, which is the most precious thing in our life. The third purpose, the pyramid energy improves the molecular structure of the water. The fourth, it improves the food. The fifth, it improves our immunity. The sixth, it improves our bioenergy field, or popularly called auric field. The seventh, it gets back our chakra system back to the balance. It opens them up. Energy can flow better and we are healthier, and so on and so forth. So now we can see that the pyramids had been serving not one dead body, but the whole communities for thousands of years, and then it makes sense. Otherwise, why would somebody move, like in Egypt, 5 million tons to build a structure that will be home for just one dead body?
Okay, interesting. So technically speaking, if the pyramid amplifies as the electricity, so I guess it comes out from the top of it, like you said, like this. So how do you use it on a person? You said that it improves the chakra system or improves the molecules of the water. You have to, it's not like an instrument that you could point it at someone. It's a massive structure. Or you go and sit on top of it, or you hover above it, or you
it's
sit
a huge complex.
It?
Yeah, I understand. It's a huge complex, not one, but 6 pyramids with a huge network of underground tunnels. Now, those tunnels are the key. If you want to benefit from the pyramid energy, you get into those tunnels. In our case, in Bosnia, we have discovered 6 entrances to prehistorical underground tunnels, and so far we have cleared and secured more than 3 kilometers of those tunnels. The moment you get in, you start breathing better. Deeper you go, you breathe better and better. Not very logical,
no.
But nothing in Bosnia is logical. So we have noticed that people who have respiratory problems, who have asthma and so on, after one visit, they got out, they don't need air pump inhalators for weeks. People who have high blood pressure, for example, you and your wife, you got in fight, your blood pressure goes 180 over 120, you go to the Bosnian pyramid tunnels, you get out 120 over 80. You're like the astronaut. You have high sugar in the blood, high glucose in the blood, let's say 12, which is almost diabetes. You get outside from the tunnels, it's back to 5.7, to the normal level. Even people with the more serious diseases, tumors, even cancers and so on, we can see the revolutionary improvement. So why is that happening? We have measured 9 energy properties of the tunnels. The first 5 are the absence of all bad radiations, damaging radiations, like the cosmic radiations, because we are 40 meters under the ground. The second one, natural radioactivity. We measure it using a Geiger-Miller counter. The values are always 3 to 5 times lower than the minimum allowed. The third one, geopathogenic radiations coming from underground water. The fourth one, the absence of the signal for the cell phone, for the mobile phones. The fifth one, the absence of a Wi-Fi internet connection. And we measure 4 very good energies. The sixth one is 28 kilohertz frequency of electromagnetic fields, the natural frequency, very good. 28 kilohertz frequency of the ultrasound. In science, it is called the levitation frequency. People feel light in the tunnels. Number 8, very low frequency. Actually, it is called ELF, extremely low frequency of 7.83 hertz. In science, it is called the original Schumann resonance. When we go there, we go back to the balance. And number 9, high concentration of negative ions. And that's probably the most important. Negative ions clean the atmosphere from dust, from pollen. They kill all the microbes, viruses, bacteria, fungi. So those 9 elements, when you combine them, makes this underground tunnel network the most secure and the healthiest place on the planet, and the regeneration process starts.
Okay, very interesting. Thank you. Does anyone know how does it work?
Well, like I said, we have those 9 elements. You get inside.
No, I don't mean that. I mean, what creates, what makes those tunnels the kind of environment that they are? How does the pyramid being on top of it project whatever those properties back into the tunnel? Or does it go through the ground? Or you don't know? Maybe you don't know.
The pyramid has the ability to pull different energies from underground, to pull the water and so on. So what's happening and pulling electromagnetism and pulling electrical fields, when creating ultrasound, how do you create ultrasound? You have electromagnetic field. We have discovered a lot of quartz crystal on the pyramid during the excavation and in the tunnels. Electromagnetism hits the quartz crystal. Through the piezoelectrical effect, it transforms the energy to ultrasound, which is also beneficial to us. So now we can see that the ancients knew how to create those different beneficial energies. And finally, about the negative ions. Negative ions, they have high concentration, let's say, near the waterfalls, near the sea, on the top of the mountains, but not very high. I have instruments where I measure them all around the planet. For example, in our homes, your and my homes, we have about 20 negative ions per cubic centimeter. That's nothing. You go to the downtowns, Belgrade, Sarajevo, Zagreb, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, it's about 150. You go to the top of the mountain in the forest, it's about 1,000. You go to the Bosnian pyramid tunnels, it's between 20,000 and 60,000. 50 times more healthier than on the top of the mountain in the pine tree forest. So now we can see that they could combine those different elements, creating such a place. And you know what? Once we are standing here on the surface of the planet, we are exposed to the bad energies from the universe, from cosmos, from underground. Our body cells fight those enemies. You enter the tunnels. For the first time in our life, our body cells don't have enemies. They can start doing their job. What's their job? to fix the problems in our bodies. That's why the regeneration process starts. And if we get lucky, the rejuvenation process.
Yes, and they say that the medication doesn't heal a person. It's his own body that actually heals. So if you put the body in the right conditions, the body will heal. You don't need something from the outside to actually heal you. Wow. So more about pyramids. I mean, so what's your conclusion? I mean, let's talk about the ancients. You keep saying the ancients this, the ancients that. I mean, what ancients? I thought the world is 5,700 years old before the Garden of Eden and the apple and all that.
The age is very important. What they teach us in schools is, like Encyclopedia Britannica, for 50 years ago, they were saying the oldest civilization, Sumerians, 4,500.
Yeah.
Today, they claim 7,000 years. However, we know that even in the land of Israel, you have civilizations 10,000 years old. Jericho, 11,500 years old. You have in eastern Lebanon, Baalbek, huge stone blocks. The biggest one, 1,450 tons. I mean, until 20 years ago, our biggest crane has capacity of 300 tons. This one is 5 times heavier, more massive. So now we are talking really about some advanced civilizations. But when it comes to age, the Bosnian pyramids, below 1 meter of soil, we are discovering blocks, rectangular, square blocks, one on top of each other. It's a structure. We have analyzed the samples of the blocks. It's the artificial concrete material. Some people call it geopolymer concrete, like French professor Davidovitz. Some people call it synthetic concrete. It is of the better quality than what we can make today. Between those blocks, between like 2 rows, like in the sandwich, we have discovered fossilized leaves. So, while somebody was pouring concrete blocks, first row, second row, third row, the wind was blowing, bringing those leaves, and they finally placed the last concrete blocks. But those leaves, they are organic material. You can date them. And this is what we did. Actually, we've done 28 radiocarbon datings and uranium thorium analysis. The date of those leaves was 29,200 years, plus minus 400 years. What does that mean? We go back for 30,000 years, and all the history books will have to be changed.
So what is this carbon and uranium? How does it work? We often hear that they found dinosaurs, like millions of years old. How does it work? Maybe you could tell us.
Well, that's different. Radiocarbon dating can go up to 56,000 years. Okay. So the way it works, in nature we have C12, carbon 12, carbon 13, carbon 14. C14 is the tiniest part, but it basically disappears very, very slowly. Now there is a scale, what is the percentage of C14, and now when you see how much has been used or how much it's disappeared, then you can say, okay, the age is, so much.
And the uranium?
Deeper you go in the past, the thing with radiocarbon dating, that the error is becoming a little bit bigger, from 5% to 8% to 10% and so on. But even at 10% on 30,000 years, we are still talking extremely old ages.
Yeah.
Uranium thorium analysis is basically the same. It is based on the content of uranium. Uh-huh. As you know, uranium, that content there can disappear for much, much, much longer, hundreds of thousands of years. So these are 2 rather precise methods. The third one would be luminescence method. Basically, when you uncover something, if you have quartz crystal, then quartz crystal can tell you what was the time before it had seen the sunlight last time. So these are some of the methods. And but the thing is, we don't have like an instruments. When you come there and you measure and you say, okay, this is the exact date. But these are very interesting methods that give us a clue about the age.
Okay.
And the question is, who was around 30,000 years back, when they teach us in schools that until 12,000 years back, it was the area of the primitive caveman. Well, if somebody was able to maneuver with millions of tons of material and create very specific beneficial frequencies, they were not primitive.
Okay, so look, the ultra-Orthodox Jews would tell you that the world is 5,700 years old. Then, if we go for the secular Western explanation, I once checked it online, then humans exist around 50,000 years. Because before 50,000 years, there were different, like Homo erectuses, like 7 Homo australopithecus, Homo miraculous, all these, 17 different branches, and the Neanderthals, and the Homo sapiens are like one of the little branches that ended up surviving while all the others died. So according to the mainstream, whatever, secular version, ancient humans were born 50,000 years ago, and then they kind of developed until about 10,000 years ago when they started to live in communities. And I think it's old since Egypt and all that. They started living in cities and growing wheat. Yuval Noah Harari and all his theories and all that. So what are you saying? So are you saying that 50,000 years ago they were aliens living here? And amongst them, there were all these primitive humans? Or are you saying, what is your version? Tell me.
Okay, let me update you on recent scientific versions. It's been accepted among the majority of scientific community that our planet is between 5 billion and 6 billion years old. It has also been accepted that about 4 to 5 million years are the first Homo groups that appeared. It's been also accepted that Homo sapiens is not 50,000, it's not 100,000, but between 300,000 and 400,000 years old. And it's developed first in Africa, and then first they were saying 55,000 years back they left Africa, going through the Middle East, around Anatolia, then to Europe, Siberia, and so on. However, just in Israel, last year, they discovered the traces of Homo sapiens, which are about 110,000 years old.
What was it?
So they had 110,000.
What did they find?
They found the human bones that they belong to Homo sapiens.
Okay.
So now they had to revise it again. But if we accept that humans are about 400,000 years old, the question is, what was before? Yeah, before there was a theory of evolution, Darwinism, saying that we are product of, slow evolution. Before us, the most developed species were Neanderthals. Well, not exactly. Neanderthals, even though a little bit bigger than us, little bit bigger brain mass than ours, they were still at the animal level. They were at the top of the animal world. Homo sapiens, us, we are intelligent, artistic, we are different. If it was for evolution, it would take at least 5 million years to evolve from Neanderthal to Homo sapiens. So what happened there 400,000 years ago? It seems that there was an intervention. It seems that there was some type of the genetical manipulation. In our case, we have lost one pair of chromosomes from Neanderthal, and we appeared literally overnight. Now, Neanderthal, like chimpanzee and gorillas, they were perfect animals, and only the fittest would survive. Those who were sick, they would not replicate. And they would have only 2 or 3 genetical flaws. So when they got born, they would almost never get sick. And now all of a sudden, you have us, human species, 400,000 years back, who are so intelligent, but who have 5,000 genetical flaws. And because of that, even today, we tend to get cancers, to get Alzheimer, to get all kinds of diseases, because it seems that somebody had mixed its very advanced genetic material with genetic material of most advanced animal, Neanderthal. But since those other groups, which are very advanced, it seems that they did not come from this planet because they were not adjusted to the terms of this planet. That's why we have those 5,000 genetical problems.
What do you mean?
This...
Genetical problems, as you said, like Alzheimer's and all that.
And in biology, there is a term, missing link. Missing link between Neanderthal, the animal, and humans.
Yeah.
The most intelligent
What
man,
about the junk DNA?
Well, this is how we call it. 50 years from now, it won't be called junk DNA, because everything has the purpose, and including that, what we call junk DNA, because as you know, our capabilities are much, much bigger than, what we use today, including DNA, including brain cells, and we know so little about our inner universe.
Okay. So before we get to the inner universe, so you're saying that an advanced species came to Earth, took the Neanderthals, genetically modified them with the DNA of those who came, with themselves basically, and created us. I heard that
everything we have point into that direction. It's not me saying, but I'm just giving you some scientific arguments, and that would be a logical conclusion.
You're not the only one who says that. I've watched Michael Tsarian, I think he talks about it a lot, and many others. And so basically, we are now, okay, so forget that for a moment. No, not forget that. So back to the pyramids. So what do you think? What do you think went on over the last 400,000 years? I mean, what do you think happened?
I think
Atlantis
is that
and Lemuria? Maybe Atlantis is true, the story, or what?
What I think is that parallel with humans, Homo sapiens, and other species, there were episodes. And I mentioned one episode in the case of Easter Island. The second one is, for example, Göbekli Tepe. It's in eastern Turkey, near the city of Urfa, magnificent Urfa. Dr. Klaus Schmidt from Germany, 25 years ago, he discovered the megalithic circle, megaliths in the shape of letter T, 5, 6, 12 tons each. They form a circle, similar to the Stonehenge. And then discover another one, and another one, and another one. And then he passed away. The Turkish government took over, they discovered 4 more. When I spoke to Dr. Schmidt, 7, 8 years back, he told me there are probably 100 of those circles. And the age between 15 and 18,000 years. So now we talk about rather advanced civilization and not a single residential house. Who built it? When? How? Why? These are the major questions in archaeology and history that got unanswered. And we need to find those answers, because if somebody had the ability to use only the natural materials, the stone, the soil mound, stuff like that, to make certain shape, to manipulate with the energies, to amplify them for its own purpose, well, that's something that we can use. Look at the world today. I mean, start with the energy. It's all about the energy, really. You want to drive somewhere, the car needs gas. You need to watch TV, you need electricity. You need to, get some energy in your body, you eat. So it's all about the energy. The way we handle the energy sources today, last 300 years, coal industry, dirty industry. Oil and gas, limited resources. We extract them from our Mother Earth, and it hurts her.
Yeah.
Number 3, nuclear energy. We go from Chernobyl to Fukushima and back. Look how much radioactivity we are bringing and contaminate our planet.
Yeah.
And this energy is very, very expensive. And it belongs to much less than 1%, only 2,500 billionaires on our planet. So, while less than 1% basically own so much, more than 90% of us struggle in daily life. financially and otherwise. Imagine this scenario. Instead of dirty, limited, and expensive energy, what would happen if we have clean, unlimited, and free energy? And really, the pyramid energy, once you built the structure and the complexes underground, below the ground, and so on, now you have a complex that gives you the energy for thousands of years. It belongs to everyone. You know, when I spoke about the purpose of the pyramid energy, I did not mention one also very important. Our friend Dr. Alexander Golod from Moscow, he built 16 pyramids in Russia. One of them near Moscow, he did an interesting experiment. He placed 5 tons of kitchen salt in the pyramid for 30 days. And then he signed a contract with Russian government where he shipped the salt to the nearby prison, which had 6,000 prisoners. And then he asked them to use the kitchen salt for the breakfast, lunch, and dinner. 3 months later, he went to the prison to check the results. So he asked the chiefs of departments, what if they have noticed any changes. They said, well, it is like we have brand new prisoners. The violence level was reduced to 0. It's 6,000 prisoners. It's always somebody's playing with knife or guns or 0, violence level. After a year, when his contract expired, he went to the government offering another contract. They rejected him. Mm-hmm. So now we can guess, why did they reject him?
Why?
It seems that governments want us to be violent so they can apply their instruments of pressure, the police and the army and the inspections and ministries and laws, whatever.
Yeah.
Instead of living in happy communities with the friendship and so on, it seems that for some reason, in order to control us, they want us to be violent.
Yeah, and many other things, and addicted, and chronically ill, and dependent, and psychologically impaired in many ways. We will talk about that in a moment, but I still want to talk about these pyramids. So you say okay, so let's say everything goes the way you want, and there's this big revelation, and they say, okay, we used you for many years, now we're happy for everyone to do whatever they like, build as many pyramids as you like, and the truth is out there. So how do you drive a car using energy made by a pyramid?
No way. But you use some other energy sources which are clean and free. The biggest one is our Father. This is how the ancients call our sun. Yeah. I can read a lot of stuff in archaeology. Yes, I can read a lot of stuff in archaeology, especially the Mayan researchers. They are saying, the Mayans, they worship the sun, they sacrifice this, Aztecs sacrifice that, and so on and so forth. They don't realize you don't need to worship something, but our sun is giving us light. Without light, there is no life. It gives us warmth. Without the warmth, there is no life. It gives us information. So basically, it does give us life. That's why it is our Father. I don't think that the Mayans ever sacrificed anyone to worship sun, God's son. But they were showing their love. On one of the Mayan altars, in front of the one pyramid, the archaeologists were claiming this is where they would cut their head, or they would, rip the heart of the bodies. Well, with advanced techniques, they were able to get the, very small pieces, microcells, and they thought they would find the traces of blood. Instead, they found traces of flowers. So they were showing their love.
Yeah.
You asked me about the previous or ancient civilization.
Yes.
11,700 years back, according to geology and other scientists, there was a so-called biblical flood. So it was a huge global catastrophe when huge quantities of ice melted. And then the water went to the world, seas, and oceans. Pacific rose up for 80 meters, Atlantic 120 meters, and so on. The civilizations vanished. Earthquake, volcanic eruptions were on unimaginable scales. Tsunamis were over 1,000 meters in height. The one that you and I remember in 2004, December, Indonesia, tsunami was 25 meters tall and it killed 225,000 people. 25 meters tall.
So imagine
1,000. Enormous power. More than 99% of people vanished. They were wiped off from the face of the planet. So those small number who survived in underground tunnels, in natural caves on the top of the mountains, when they got back on the surface, they had to start from the beginning. And this is what we call Mesolithic and then Neolithic times. So this is just the last phase, the last cycle of humanity. Before this one, there was another one, which ended 18,500 years back. Before that one was another one, 34,000 years back. Huge solar flames that burned the surface of the planet. Before that, 55,000. Before that, 75,000 years back. A huge volcanic eruptions on Indonesia islands. So in the last 100,000 years, if we agree that our life is more than 5,700 years old, so in the last 100,000 years, we had at least 5 civilizational cycluses.
Wow.
Some of those advanced civilizations who were living at the same time with some rather primitive Homo sapiens species were, as you said, Atlantis. Now, it seems that Atlantis had not one, but 3 phases, 55, 18,500, and 11,700 years back. And first there were huge 2 islands or 2 small continents in the Atlantic Ocean between Europe and the US. And then that would be one. The second one, Lemuria. Lemuria is, according to some, big island between Africa, today's Madagascar, and India. And the third one, Motherland Mu, which is a series of huge islands between Japan and South America. So if the life was there, unfortunately, from other 2 cases, Lemuria and Motherland Mu, nothing has been retrieved as far as the material, arguments. As far as the Atlantis, we have some indirect proofs. For example, in the last 20 years, people were doing all this genetical research. They know all the haplogroups, how certain communities and nations are old. So they are saying the oldest people in Europe are the Basques in Spain and southern France, 55,000 years. The second oldest cultural oasis, Balkan Peninsula. This is where we are. Bosnia, Croatia, Serbia, Macedonia, Slovenia, Greece, and so on. 38,000. And the third one, Ukraine, around the Black Sea, 28,000. The interesting thing is, the oldest people, the Basques.
What about the Jews? What about the poor Jews?
We'll come to that. The second oldest, in northern Africa, Berbers. They have the same haplogroup like Basques. Number 3, Indians in Amazon. They have the same haplogroup like the previous 2. And finally, Guatemala. Maybe, people who got their origin from Mayas, they got the same haplogroup. So 4 continents, the same haplogroup. What's missing? The middle, the distribution center. That was probably the land of mysterious Atlantis. Also, it's been said that the Egyptian pyramids were actually built by the Atlanteans, and under the Giza Plateau, the huge library of their knowledge was hidden. It has also been said that in 1999, Zahi Hawass, then the main guy in the Supreme Council of Egyptian Antiquities, with a group of 5 people, entered the tunnels. Basically, they discovered under the Sphinx left pawn, they got under, they got to the library, they discovered stuff, they could not find explanations, they don't want to reveal it to the world because all our belief system, all our religions, should disintegrate and so on. I disagree. I mean, if there is a new knowledge, that's what the science is for. Get us the new information. We need to change history books. Fine, we're going to change them. What is the problem? If, like they are saying, oh, there are UFOs, there are no UFOs. If there are, they don't want to disturb the public. I mean, what's the problem? Let's disturb the public and let's accommodate ourselves to new situation.
Of course. Tell me about let me see. So again, about Atlantis. So they were advanced. Like, what do you think they had? They had spaceships and they had computers.
Well, unfortunately, we don't see the remains. There are no materials proof for that. Basically, the biggest database about the Atlantis was given to the world by Edgar Casey. He was a prophet. He was a medicine man from the United States. And during the 1920s and 30s and 40s, he had done more than 12,000 readings, or through hypnotic regression, he was able to retrieve information for 12,000 people through their previous lives, reincarnation, and they were giving him very detailed description of the last phase of the Atlantis. So this is one source, if we can accept it as the science. But if you have 12,000 descriptions, there must be something, to it.
Yeah.
The second one is coming from Damanhur. Damanhur is a spiritual community in northern Italy, very close to the town of Torino. And there is a claim that the guy who the founder of Damanhur, with one artist, they were able to travel through time to the last phase of the Atlantis. When they got back, they were able to paint a bunch of paintings showing their architecture, look of those people, faces and stuff like that. And through those two sources, basically, we are learning that they were much more spiritual than us. They were drawing a lot of information from the spiritual aspect. Some people call them Akashic records.
Yep.
Like, there's the idea that there is a huge energy, spiritual field around our planet with like a library with all the knowledge. And if you got the permission, you can get some of those information. Now, that question really intrigued me in the past. So what I did an experiment with the scientific protocols. The problem with the Akashic records is some people claim, I can get all the information from the past or from the future. But how do you check that? Well, this is what I did. I did experiment with 6 Akashic record readers. I asked them the same questions. They did not know what I was going to ask them, so they could not prepare themselves. They did not talk to each other. They could not, share the information. So what I did, I had 25 slides with rather mysterious archaeological sites all over the world, like Machu Picchu in Peru, Mexican, Egyptian, Bosnian, Chinese pyramids, Stonehenge, and so on. I was asking them always the same question: who, when, how, and why? And in my book, my questions are up there for one side, and then 6 answers. So now we can compare, and we can see if the Akashic records are for real, if these people are real, and so on.
And
well, you would expect, if they have access to, let's say, a book, to encyclopedia, and then you open up the book and you say, okay, under letter I, there is Israel. Israel is the country, the Middle East, 7 million people. This is the surface. This is the capital. This is, well, it did not happen like that. For example, I asked them about Machu Picchu. Machu Picchu, for most of the archaeologists, it's a royal retreat for Incas. Now, Incas were there 800 years back. Well, One Akashic record reader was saying, well, this is the site about 800 years old. The other one said 2,500 years. The third one, 5,000 years. The fourth one, 54,000 years. The sixth one, said 300,000 years. If you show that to the, official archaeologist, they will just laugh it off. They said, oh, it's impossible. You see, it's such nonsense.
Yeah.
But the major sites around the planet, they would be inhabited time after time. There is a cultural layer, one on top of each other. You go to many sites in Israel, and you find those sites with 5, 10, 23 cultural layers. Remember that? So obviously, it seems that those Akashic record readers were giving me pieces of information. Later on, I was sorry that I did not do experiment with 20 of them. Probably I would be getting almost a full picture about those sites. Yeah. So I wouldn't say that I proved that it does exist, and I wouldn't say that we should disregard it. We should simply research all the aspects of our life.
Of course. So what do you think happens after death?
After Atlantis.
After death. When I die,
after death.
What will happen?
After death, when we die. Well, the question is, what is the life?
Yes.
Are we living now, or we live only when we die? Well, this is what I think. First, I think we should understand how complex beings we are.
Yep.
For me, my modest opinion, we consist of 3 entities. The first one is our physical body. Obviously, our physical body is for one use only. We got born, we live, we die. But it's very important because we have this unique experience where we can feel stuff through our 5 physical senses. We can hear, we can see, we can taste, we can touch, and that's very important. Especially it is important for our second entity, which I would call a soul. A soul is something that's hidden behind our chest. The moment we are alive, while still in mother's womb, the soul comes into our body. It goes through this experience, and thanks to our physical senses, it is able to experience the life. Now, the soul is almost forever. I'm saying almost because at one point, the Creator let souls live their independent life, independent experience. And during this experience, they go through different bodies, through different life experiences, through different planets, through different galaxies, even through different universes. At the end of the road, the souls with all these experiences and knowledge and memory, they go back to the Creator. And the third entity would be the spirit. The spirit is so tiny, little piece of light, which is really part of the Creator. We all are, of course, but the spirit is direct part of the Creator. You know, when all these holy books say the God, the Creator, they are all around us and it is within us. Well, yes, it is within us. So our physical body is protecting our soul. Our soul is protecting our spirit. So we have 3 entities. So when you ask me, what does it happen when we die? When physical body is gone, there is a life between lives. That life consists of further developing and learning. And then when we are ready, we go back to human body to experience more, to learn more, to finish the lectures that got unfinished from the previous life, and again and again. And then when we are ready to complete our study, to get certificate, then we leave our planet.
And then we continue to reincarnate on other planets, or until we merge back with the source, you said.
Exactly.
So when we say we or I, that's obviously not the body, because the soul and the spirit. So does the soul contain the spirit throughout the lives?
Yes.
So it's the same soul attached to the same spirit, but the body keeps changing. And then after it goes, the spirit soul goes to other planets, it reincarnates, and eventually, I guess the spirit merges back with the creator, and the soul is shed or something.
No. Spirit is basically creator. Creator is all around us. It's in us. Soul goes back to the creator with all this knowledge.
I see.
It is like a water drop and the ocean. Water drop, it can be our tear. Our tear, the moment it got into existence, it contains so much emotions. And then it finds its way through some pipes to the, water flows, to the rivers, to the ocean, bringing memories, bringing, information and knowledge. And now imagine unlimited number of those little drops. Now, the whole, the creator, becomes richer with all this knowledge.
Amazing. It's just everything is so different to what we're taught. If we only realized how magnificent and wonderful and full of wonder and mystery everything is. It's just mind-boggling. It's just unbelievable. It's crazy. It's amazing.
I've been coming to Israel several times, and I even started bringing groups to Israel. We were doing the megalithic tour in Israel, and of course the spiritual and religious tour, Jerusalem and so on. Now, that land is truly holy land when you see how many cultural layers. This is the land that has very important megalithic sites, even though they are not much mentioned in the regular history of Israel. When you see, for example, the site which is called Rujum el-Hiri, it's on Golan Height. 5 megalithic circles. They were made from the volcanic stones. And the site is over 5,000 years old. And even the Israeli archaeologists, who are among the best in the world, the best trained and so on, they don't have all the definitive answers. This was a site which is ideal for me, it was ideal to apply my technique of the focused meditation. Meditation, you relax, you go deep, but focused meditation, when I come to certain sites, South Africa, Egypt, Israel, Jordan, Turkey, US, Germany, and so on, I ask questions. Who, when, how, and why. And I'm receiving either pictures or even little movies. Whatever information you receive first 2-3 seconds, they are to be not tinted, not contaminated with our ratio. So in one of my books, I was describing the information I was getting about that particular site, Rujum el-Hiri. And the story goes like this. 5,200 years back, there was a village in the area, but people were getting sick. Then the cows and all the animals were getting sick as well. So people talk to their elders, to their shamans, to their spiritual people, what was happening. Now their shamans, during their sessions, spiritual sessions, they got in touch with the spirits of nature, and they were explained that under their village there was underground water flow. When water flows under our bedroom, for example, we get sick in 3, 5, or 10 years. Why? Because it is negative energy for us, people. And that's what they explain them. The water causes so much sickness. And they were instructed to build a circle, stone circle, using energy potent stone. In this case, volcanic stone, iron energy. And then they were instructed to build 4 more. So they got 5 circles. The purpose of the first circle is to neutralize negative and transform to positive energy. The purpose of 5 of them, and you have to have odd number 3, 5, 7, 9. The purpose of 5 odd numbers of circle was to amplify this positive energy. So what happened? Very soon, this village started thriving, no more sickness. And while I was in the middle of the circle, there is like a stone chamber. While I was there, I was getting a picture that behind me in Little Valley used to be a lake. So they built another village and another village. So I completed, my meditation. I came back to the group and I told them what I saw. And the co-host of the group was a friend of mine from Tel Aviv. And he's a son to a rather famous family from Israel. His father was the first rector to Ben Gurion University in Jerusalem, and his mother was a holder of some very famous artifacts in Israel and so on. So, as a young man, he was going through all archaeological sites in Israel, and he was listening to me, and he knew these sites very well. So when I told him there was a lake there, he said, "You are right. The side where we never go, there was a lake there, and there was traces of village, and they just discovered that, last season." So that was a kind of confirmation that you can get some information from different aspects. But we have to be aware, as long as we are not going to abuse those information, then yes, we're going to be given an opportunity to get them. For example, if you play lottery, you don't ask the numbers of the lottery, during such sessions. So if it is something that will help humanity, then yes, it does make sense.
Okay, interesting. Now, what about the Jews? You promised to speak about the Jews.
Well, the Jews, I rely mostly on some of the historical records, and then we go back that, they were living in those lands for 600 or 700 years before they moved to Egypt, coming back to the promised land, fights with the, Philistines. I would agree, King David, King Solomon, the first temple, I think that it is all for real. I agree with the second temple also. I agree with the ancient Romans coming, destroying Jerusalem. So, and after that, of course, they were forced to leave the land, going to northern African countries, other Mediterranean places, Europe. They were never allowed to own the land. People in those native countries did not like them. And of course, they had to find their way for living. They were doing trading. Trading at that time was considered, something that was not very popular. If you had the land, you would have agriculture and so on. The Jews were going into trading, especially with the gold and some other stuff. So they were getting rich, and then people would not even like them anymore. And then they would expel them from their countries. You remember 14th, 15th century, when they were expelled from most of the European countries. Who received them first? Sephards in Europe were Bosnians, Bosnian kingdom. That's the place where I'm at right now. I'm in the capital city of Bosnia, which is called Sarajevo. So the Jews came here in the 14th century, and we used to have 3 Jewish temples in Sarajevo. And we were living proof that for 500 years, Christians, both Roman Catholics and Eastern Orthodox, Jews, Muslims, they were living together in harmony. All the way to 1992 and the bloody war in Bosnia.
And the Americans got involved.
Beginning of the 20th century, 25% of the Sarajevo's populations were Jews. The major people in the trade, in the politics, of course in the banking systems, in the gold, they were Jews. So they were really big part of the tradition in Sarajevo. Unfortunately, the Second World War came. Most of them were either expelled or killed. And then during 1990s, a couple of thousand that remained, they left Sarajevo. So today, I don't know if there are 40, 50 Jews in Sarajevo left. So very interesting story. And I know that people are always saying, oh, Jews, the capital US, they rule the world and stuff like that. They always support both sides in the wars. But, it does not apply to the nation. When I was in Israel, I was meeting so many nice people, spiritual people.
Yeah.
I was doing lectures in Israel, and I was amazed how much they know, how relaxed they are. And when you see this kind of movement that people wanted to create some communities where they would combine the material and spiritual. In the world, you have some places in Norway, in Italy, in India, but also some of the kibbutz, especially in the northern part of the country, they were creating such communities. So I was very happy to see that.
Nice. But I wanted to ask you about the Jewish race. You said that about the genes in Guatemala and all of that they're 40,000 years old, and in the Basques. So how old are the Jews? Does anyone know?
Well,
I mean, if you found genetically that Jews are 30,000 years old, then the whole Bible is just, it contradicts the existence of the Bible, which is like 5,700.
Okay. Now, of course, there is explanation for every, I wouldn't say nation, I would rather use term community on the planet, including communities in that part of the world. And when I was doing the checking of my haplogroup while I was living in Houston, I spent about 25 years in Houston, Texas. In 1990s, you would pay about $250, $300 to get your origin. And this is what they told me. Even though my origin in this life is from the Balkan, from former Yugoslavia, from Sarajevo and Bosnia, they said about 70% of the people here are people who are about 38,000 years old, and this is what their ancestors, they are in this area for so long. But 10% came from Eastern Mediterranean 10,000 years back, after the end of the last ice age. So since Israel in a wider terms can be considered Eastern Mediterranean, because Western is Morocco, Tunisia, Syria, and Spain, and so maybe there is something there with me and the Jewish
okay.
genes.
Enough about the Jews. Let's talk about the future of humanity between corporate tyranny, big tech, big pharma, and the natural man.
Until recently, we thought that the countries like US or Germany or Russia or Japan and so on, that they run the world. In the last 16 months, we see that the truth is different. There is a huge change. 4 major big tech companies, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, and Apple, they raised their value just in 1 month, March of 2020, for 30%, 30%. So Apple today is worth about $2,000 billion. $2,000 billion. Microsoft, $1,500 billion. It's not only the financial wealth, it is what they do. If Amazon decides that they are going to ban certain books, certain authors, certain ways of thinking, they are going to do that. If Facebook decides that certain type of information, which are truthful, coming from real scientists, real doctors, if they decide the world is not to see that, they're going to do that. Because it's not only the Facebook, it is the Skype, it is the Instagram, it is the Twitter, it is all the social media and those big tech controls. If they decide that they are going to put some stuff to trace us in our homes, they are going to place it in the laptops and computers and tablets and phones and so on and so forth. You know, in the last 15, 16 months, we could see that if we were sharing information from independent doctors or even from some hospitals, saying different narrative than the World Health Organization, what they would do, they would erase that article. If you repeat that, they would ban our account. Yep. So we would lose our Facebook account or Instagram account.
Or YouTube, in my case.
Or YouTube channel. So it's not only that it happens to us, common people, but it started happening to most influential people.
Yeah.
Technically, the most powerful guy in the world is the president of the US. So the guy got banned on all social media.
Yeah.
First the Twitter, his personal account, the White House account, and so on and so forth. Then Facebook, then Instagram. And then the third level, they started banning the countries. Now, 3 months back, Australian Parliament got the law into effect that the social networks are going to share the profit with the governments. Because if you have ad on Facebook or Twitter, all the money goes to those social media, to Facebook or Twitter. Nothing goes to the governments of certain countries, even though their people are actually paying for those ads. So, Australian government said, from now on, we are going to share 50-50. What did Facebook do? They shut down Facebook in the whole country of Australia.
Really?
So 30 million people who depend on Facebook because they are selling stuff through Facebook. They deliver stuff through Facebook. They promote stuff through Facebook. They are looking for wives or girlfriends or mistresses through Facebook. So now the whole country came to stop. So this is not the political nations, the countries, world no more. It is the corporate world from now on. So this is a huge change. And they don't care about the human rights. While you had some countries like European Union, US, you have Congress, even though you can see that they try to control, manipulate, they trace our movements or our phone conversation and the emails and wherever we publish, still you had some mechanisms, you had some instruments to say, hey, wait a minute, we need to respect human rights, there is a constitution. Now, the corporate world, it's one man on the top of their corporate pyramid. They don't care, or they could care less. If you have people like Elon Musk from South Africa, who got abused day after day because he was a nerd in elementary school, day after day, people were playing with him, they were hitting him, so now you have people who are full of those complexes and who want their revenge. They want to, their revenge is they are going to show to the whole world. And if such people decides about human rights, then we are in trouble.
I see. Well, that's why we exist. We are free.tv on our own server with our own traffic. Trying to build our audience, get their email addresses. So if something happens to Telegram, then at least we could contact them by email and host. We'll always find somewhere to host our videos and continue to bring the knowledge. And wow, it makes me feel so important. And I hope more people do it. And again, so many people do it on YouTube. So they're so afraid, they can't say this, they can't say that. You know what I mean? So I think it's important for people to become independent. It's not that difficult. But yeah, let's wait and see.
You see, the internet, when it showed up 30 years back, it had offered so many opportunities. For the first time in our lives, you were able to communicate, to talk to anyone on this planet, to the remote corners on this planet. And then, with so much literature, books, scientific information, and knowledge, we had opportunity to go deeper than any time in the history. Instead, great majority of the people simply waste their time on internet. I could witness that. I take groups to, Egypt, to Jordan, Petra, to South Africa, to Swaziland, to Zimbabwe, to US, to Vietnam. You have all those tourists. They come with their cell phones. They take, the photos, one after another, 10, 20, 50 photos. They put them on, whatever, Instagram, and they don't even get the chance to see the site, to feel the monument, to enjoy the moment. Instead, it's all about them.
The digital persona.
Yes, it's all about how many games we're going to play here and what kind of level we're going to reach. It's all about...
And how many likes and how...
Unimportant things, exactly right. So this is very unfortunate. We could learn so much. There are times in human history when people were complete. For example, take the ancient Greek philosophers. Take, Plato, Aristotle, Socrates. They were philosophers, but they were engineers. They were artists. They were writers. They were orators. They were builders. Another example, 15th, 16th, 17th century, Italy and some other parts of the Europe, Renaissance. Again, people like Da Vinci, Michelangelo. They were doctors, the medical doctors, because they know anatomy. They were, artists. They were painters. They were engineers. They were such a beautiful mind. So now in 21st century, we got this chance with the internet. Instead, when it comes to the work, we got our, very limited and specialized areas that we do, whatever, IT expert or, agricultural engineer. And the rest of the time, we waste in most cases.
Yeah.
And because we waste it, we are easy prey for control.
Yeah.
Instead, if we are reading a lot, if we are communicating a lot, if we are getting different views, then it would not happen what's been happening from March of 2020 until today.
So,
great majority of people, and now we are talking 90%, have been living in fear, watching TV or computer monitors, listening the numbers, how many tested, how many dead, and stuff like that. And they simply follow the government measures as robots. And this is what we are becoming. Or even worse, as zombies. 15, 20 years back, while doing my public lectures all around the world, that's exactly what I was saying. It seems that the elites want to make us aggressive zombies because we don't have patience in our families, we don't have patience with our kids, we don't have patience with our co-workers, we don't want to listen to anyone, we are becoming rather violent and so on and so on. Whose interest is that? Plus, zombies, they don't think with their head. The governments, the politics, they should be service to the people. Take, for example, Switzerland. They have ability, technical, but also a tradition. Whenever they have some question, what they're going to do next in the foreign policy, in domestic policy, the laws, what they do referendum. You got majority of people going out, they vote. So the government has to listen what majority of the people think.
Yeah.
And we have technical abilities to do that in every country.
Easily.
Instead, the governments are above us, they are ruling us, they control us, and only one day, every 4 years.
Yeah.
Well, in Israel, every 12 months, you go and elect. But in the world, the majority of cases, every 4 years, political party who's governing the country, they live in little fear what's going to happen. And then even if they are replaced, the second one are basically the same like the first one. So nothing really changed. I wish that the time comes that the government or the prime ministers, the minister will say, hey, we are here to serve you. We are here to satisfy your needs. People do not exist to satisfy their needs, to give them all the power. And it should be like that worldwide.
So if you were to fantasize, and let's say 20 years into the future, let's say everything goes really well, the old world is destroyed or collapses, implodes, which seems to be the case, and people kind of take the power back using technology, how will our lives look like? How will our day-to-day interaction and management of our own lives come about?
I'd like to see different world map. Instead of political map with all the borders and the countries, I'd like to see communities. For example, if we share the common interest on a micro level, for example, we have block of 10 houses, our interest, to have kindergarten, you said children over there, need someone to take care of them. You need to develop the parks, you need to have some sport terrains. And so this is a little community, rather close community. Then as you grow bigger, you have different interests. You have ecological interests, you have some, exchange influence, the money, the trade, and so on. So I would kind of set up stuff different. I don't see place for the passports. I don't see place, if I'm to fantasize, I don't see place for the armies. No more armies. I see the place for the friendship. I see the place for people hugging each other, respecting each other, helping each other, supporting each other. And this is the way how to develop this bond. Of course, we are going to have different opinions, and that's fine. Of course, we're going to have different claims, but then we need to find the best way to protect the majority, but also to protect the minorities. Because, when you talk about the human rights, one community is more advanced if respects minority more. So now we need to find, sometimes it's not easy, and like in your case, Israel and Arab countries, I know about, the terrible history, the first Arab-Israeli war, the second, the third, the fourth, and it goes looks like it goes forever. But there is always a way to do it. To use maybe, Israeli Arab communities in Israel as a bridge. Find some ways, because we as a humans, instead of unfortunately wasting our time in the violence, and if there is a way, and I think there is always a way, to forgive. We don't need to forget, to forgive, and try to, construct new type of communities, new type of societies. You don't have to be through the money, because money, unfortunately, has become the major instruments in the hands of the elites. Not today, 6,000-7,000 years back with the Babylon. And it's been lasting until today. And today, it's stronger and more powerful than ever. It is really the instrument against us, against the people. Now, people simply, print the money. It's not government who print the money. It's not European Central Bank who prints the money. It's not, American government who prints the money. In America, it's Fed, Federal Reserve. It's not a government entity. It's a private entity. We know it was established in 1913 when Woodrow Wilson, American president, then in the chair because
we're talking about the future. Don't forget, we're fantasizing about the future.
We don't want money around us. We need to find a better way to compensate for our goods, for our services, and there has to be a better way.
Yep.
And
good.
So I think the world without the wars, without the weaponry, without the restrictive laws, when you go to our constitutions that we have today, they give us all the human rights, freedom of movement, freedom for the voter, freedom to work, freedom to express yourself, freedom to gather, freedom to establish parties, non-profit organization. I want to see the world that will fully accept those rights that we have written in constitutions with one little addition.
Yeah.
And that's part of the constitutions in some countries of Africa and Caribbean. And that is the right for happiness. Because when we think about our purpose, it is not about the money and accumulating money and wealth, because we will never have enough. It is about living fulfilled lives, being satisfied, being happy, sharing, love, and be loved. And that's the purpose of our life. And this is kind of communities I'd like to see in the future.
Wonderful. Okay, so we've now reached the final stage of the program or the interview, where I am asking you to please address from the bottom of your heart directly your brothers and sisters around the world who speak English and understand the message, suggestion, request, or demand that you might have for them, or just a general message from your heart to them. Dr. Sam Osmanagich, PhD, the stage is yours. Go ahead, please.
We are complex beings. This experience is a wonderful test for all of us. Every day when we wake up, we need to go through those tests. How we treat our wives, husbands, partners, kids, co-workers, people that we know or people that we don't know. How much we share, how much kindness we show, how much we are ready to spend time and support their lives, their learning patterns, their education. So my message for everyone, please work first on yourself. When I was younger, in my 20s, I thought I was the smartest guy on the planet and I need to change the world. As I was getting older, I realized that I need to do one thing only. I needed to change myself. Once I do that, I'm going to give the example to the others. So let's change ourselves for better.
Amen. What a wonderful message. And the whole interview was an absolute pleasure. I enjoyed every moment. I could have carried on talking to you forever. So all I could do now is just say thank you very much.
Thank you, and you're always welcome.
Excellent. So take care and good luck with all your important work. And to our lovely audience, thank you for watching. Don't forget that if Facebook buys Telegram tomorrow, or I don't know, Microsoft buys them and shuts them down, that's it. You won't be notified about any of our underground interviews, which we will always find a way to do and host somewhere. So if you join our website and click join us and give us your email, no one can ever sever the tie that we have with you, a direct connection, and you will always, always know what we're up to and who we're interviewing. So thank you once again for watching, and see you in the next one.